So everybody's saying how cracked Mephisto is for PvE, and so before I tier 4'd him, because I really just want to get him to tier 4 ASAP, I decided let's do a little bit of testing at 70 and 80 with just a very like kind of bare bones build. So this is the Uru. It's like really sad. Okay, there's no Odin's Blessings, nothing. We have stage rank 5 type enhancement. We have stage 12 Power of Angry Hulk ISO 8 set. We have no we have a 2-star artifact, but like no named artifact. And then the custom gear is a mini rage with fire damage. And I rolled this in about 5 tries. So it's super easy to do. Just start with the flame damage at the top, get it to extreme. If it doesn't roll the mini rage at the bottom, that yellow or kind of greenish yellow text, then just re-roll it with other extreme obelisks or craft again up to extreme. But yeah, I'm ranked 16,000. This is not a good build by any means. But we're going to go into some PvE content here, first with World Boss and then with something else, and see how he performs. First up, we're going to try stage 9 of Kang. I had tried 35, but it was a little bit slow, so we're going to go to 9 and see. Still seems a bit slow, but that's okay. Remember, we don't want to press 2 again. So we just got to keep our finger off the second skill, away from the second skill. But this is very good, I would say. Although I think I died, yeah. The lasers. If you do die with Mephisto, you do need to refresh the second skill, so keep that in mind. That's something that's good to die once you can see. But, okay, that's not bad. That's like 35 seconds. To be honest, that wasn't that impressive, so I'm going to go up to stage 24 of Gene. I know he's only 70, but I still was kind of hoping for a little bit more. Let's see the dive here. And then the intro, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everything under 4, sorry. Pop the 1 again. And he does a lot of damage to tier 3. Yeah, that much is pretty obvious. You can co-op to dodge the explosions. Right back in. Pretty good. He's going to dive bomb us. There it is. I could have done 6-5 for sure. He is pretty squishy, which might not bode well for his PvP performance. And then again, remember, you do need to refresh the 2 if he dies. It's good to showcase that again. A lot of damage from that dive bomb despite having all that fire res. Okay, so that was about a minute. What I want to show you guys now is if we swap out, even though Dr. Voodoo is such a recent support and he's very good, if you give Mephisto just a little bit of fire damage, in this case Ghost Panther, the results are pretty biblical. So 1 minute first, the first run there. I'm going to keep it rolling here without a cut, and we're going to see how much faster this goes now that he has some additional fire damage. I do expect this to go quite a bit faster. I also have to, okay. I'm gonna die here. Yeah, okay, great. Good job dying on every single boss so far. Dive bomb there. Okay. Rip the tier 3, very nice. Big damage there. Okay. Yeah. So even with a pretty big mistake, we're 10 to 15 seconds faster with Ghost Panther. So this is pretty solid, I'm not gonna lie. It's not like, it's maybe not brain melting, but you really have to amplify his elemental damage if you don't have like a, let's say like a double, like flame damage obelisk, for example, or a judgment. Not saying that those are the best builds for him, but just noting that if you're gonna give him Ghost Panther, he's really going to do really well. And that also goes for ABL. So I'm gonna show you guys now. We'll just do like a 1 minute test here again. We're going to compare Voodoo to Ghost Panther and just see how much better it makes him. So we'll do 1 minute of gameplay here. pad around here. Pop the 1. Let him dive in. And go back 3, 2, 5, 6, 4. Okay. Alright, not bad, not bad. I mean, he's tier 3 level 70. You're not expecting the world from this. I really wanted the tier 3. That was really late. I probably shouldn't have done that. But that's okay. Probably just delay the 5 and the 4 to the next rotation. Everything is canceled except for 4 anyway, so it's not the end of the world. And we're only doing 1 minute of this test anyway, so it's not meant to do a full run. But you can see we get about, let's say, 2.25 million. Let's just say 2.25 million. Now with Ghost Panther. Alright, so here we go with Ghost Panther. And I know it's going to sound like it's a Ghost Panther showcase. That's not the point of what I'm saying. It's just to recognize that, in this case, if you're not going to tier 4 Mephisto, or if you can't get hands on an artifact or whatever, you can really still amplify his damage in a big way with just one small change. So you can see we're already 300,000 ahead on the opening rotation, which is pretty crazy. Even though we kind of screwed up the proc, we're way early here. We're just going to do 4 and skip 5. We're already at 2 million, which is crazy. We're at 2.25 with 10 seconds left. We're probably only going to get one more rotation in, but you can sort of extrapolate this. We're about 300,000 points ahead. And then if we pop this, you kind of get where this is going, right? By the end of the fight, you're going to be up 1 million or more. So even though Ghost Panther's a pretty old support character, and even though he doesn't even have a uniform, he's actually an insanely good support for Mephisto. And so it's something to keep in mind for those of you that can't tier 4 Mephisto, that Ghost Panther is actually a ridiculously good support for him, because he does give all allies that 50% flame damage, in addition to that 45% increased damage to villains for PvE content. So just keep that in mind. Honestly though, I'm not terribly impressed with Mephisto at 70, so I do want to take him to 80 now and see how much better it gets. So we're going to use a superior second potential realization ticket, which is pretty much what I wanted to use all along. You have to use, you can use CCF instead of BIOS, which is pretty nice. And I actually think it's well worth it to use BIOS, because to use CCF instead of BIOS, because 78 is nothing. I use Life Seed here, and I recommend using Life Seed, but I know some of you guys can't use Life Seed. But it's very rare to see a native tier 3 get tier 4, so I am going a little bit slower through this than I normally would. 99, yeah, the CCF is way cheaper than the BIOS. Just to give you guys an idea, on the second last upgrade, if you use CCF, it's 111. If you use BIOS, it's over 1600. And so yeah, even if you're tight on CCF, I would still recommend using it, because you're guaranteed CCF from World Boss these days, and you actually farm a lot. You can farm hundreds a day, whereas with BIOS, you need to spend a bunch of energy to get those BIOS back. And you get a lot fewer BIOS as well. You get like, 3 to 5 per run. So Mephistopheles there. So just the level 80 now. Nothing else, not touching the skills, not touching the gears. We're going to go back in. Just so you guys know, this is the PvP side of things. This is what his stats look like for PvE. It's not perfect, but everything that needs to be capped is capped. He's a little bit low on the crit damage, a little bit low on the crit rate. That's okay. This is supposed to be kind of like a bare bones test with an obelisk, just to see for those people that want to invest what they can expect. And I actually want to jump into Alliance Battle first with Ghost Panther and see how much better it is. All right, here we go. Let's see how much better his score is. Opening salvo gets us a cool 400k. All right, go to the next rotation. I'm gonna splash the 1 again just for funsies. Okay, it's actually the same as it was at 70. Which is a little weird, I'd say. this skill does last a long time, which is nice. Okay, we can open the next rotation with the 6 here. It's just his 5 has a very long cooldown. So you do have to wait quite a while for that, even if you have max skill cooldown. And I don't even know if this is the best rotation for him. But yeah, we only end up scoring like maybe 100,000 more than we would have. So at the 1 minute mark, we're only about maybe 100,000 or less ahead of the other one. So it seems like level 80 for ABL is really not an issue. Really not, like you're not going to get, not an issue, but you're not going to get much value, I should say. It's not that it's bad to get into 80, but specifically for ABL, if it's something that you're interested in, maybe you can skip it, I don't know. Interesting. But he's still doing pretty well, I'd say. Not well enough to replace Loki at 80, so you do need to, not that I kind of expected him to replace Loki, but you would need him to be tier 4 for that, clearly. Unless your Loki was in tier 4, then that's obviously a whole different story, but that's going to be a whole different score. Alright, last test here. I wanted to go back to that stage 39 of Kang that we couldn't do before and see if he can do it now. Because otherwise, I gotta say, I don't think it's worth it. I think, like, not that Mephisto's not worth it. I do think Mephisto's worth it, but just that you want to, I think you'd want to tier 4 him more. If that makes sense. I don't know if just taking him as is going to really, I don't know. At least for PvE, I'm not sure if the value is really there, so to speak. It really sucks that I can't use the second skill. I wanted to pop the tier 3. Maybe it's better to just pop the second skill. I don't know. If you get the tier 3s faster, maybe it's worth losing the 30% damage to villains. Maybe we're overthinking the 30% damage to villains. We could check his AoE here from Kang moving to the middle. I had to use the club skill to avoid dying and resetting the charge on my tier 3. But yeah, I mean, he can do. So the good news is he can do 39 of Kang at tier 380. With a very bad build. In this case, a very bad build. Now, I can't really scale his elemental damage much because I don't have access to Ghost Panther or Satana or these like really good elemental damage supports. But I still think it's pretty good. It's maybe not like crazy good like I was expecting it to be. But then again, he does gain a damage, like an extra damage skill with his tier 4. It does also, you know, scale his attack. So maybe that's, you know, maybe he doesn't kind of need the tier 4. He certainly needs it for like ABX, ABL if he's going to come anywhere near Loki. I don't know why I kind of expected that maybe he could approach Loki at tier 380. Maybe I was kind of overestimating. I was too optimistic because people were so hype about Mephisto. I think he does gain a lot from the tier 4 is kind of what I'm feeling. But I want to hear from you guys. What do you think of his tier 4, of his pre-tier 4, his level 70, level 80 PvE performance? Was it worth it, or do you think he needs to be tier 4 to really shine? I'm sort of leaning towards needing to be tier 4 to shine, but I want to hear from you guys. Hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Smash the like button if you enjoyed the content, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.